Hey, what's up guys, MVD here. So today I'm gonna do a trip down memory lane Samsung episode 1. So since this is the first time I'm doing this episode, let me just pass you through all the things which will be happening in this episode. So I'll be going back in time for each phone, specifically one series at a time, to see how the phone has become one of the dominant phone in the company and how it is leading the game right now, and to see how the phone was behind back. And this series will be coming out shortly just before a phone from the same series comes out. So let's get into it. The first time I heard about the Samsung Note was in September 2011, and then it was released later that year in October. But at first when it came out, it was not recognized as the Samsung Galaxy Note 1. Instead, it was Samsung Galaxy Note N7000, and then the name later changed. They removed the numbers after they released the Samsung Galaxy Note 3. It was made of plastic frame, and in front it had a Gorilla Glass. It had a 8 megapixels single camera which would zoom to 2.6 wide, which would shoot videos in 1080 pixels, and the selfie it was 2 megapixels. It was resolutionized by 800 to 1280 pixels, which was okay. Now looking at the particular specs which the Samsung Note 1 had, it doesn't seem to be fun like which a phone someone which can use right now. But looking at the year 2011, that was like the first specs which was there, and people loved it, and it was on fire. It was one of the best phones which they had during that time. Note 2 or Note N7100. Fun fact about the Note 2 is that my friend's friend still uses a Note 2, and that is quite shocking to me. And well done to Samsung for making a phone which was released in 2012 and someone is still using it in 2022. And it has been like 8 years has passed, but the guy is satisfied. I asked him about it and said he was quite satisfied with what the Note 2 was giving him, and well done for something to that. It is a 5.5 inches phone which is a little bit big, and it ran with a 720 up to 1280 pixels, which was okay. It had a 2 GB RAM. It used a Exynos 4412 chipset. The main camera, it was a single main camera, 8 megapixels, which would zoom up to 2.6, same as the Note 1, and would still shoot videos in 1080 pixels. Selfie, it was 1.9 megapixels, which was not okay. Looking at the Note 1, it used 2 megapixels, but at this time they went back, it downgraded a little bit. But looking at the year when it came out, 2012, people never cared about those specs a lot, so it was okay. Then the Note 3 came out in 2013. Now another fun fact about the Note 3 is that I was using a Note 3 in mid-August last year, and I have nothing to complain about that phone. If it was given to me again, I would still use it. From my point of view, this is the phone which changed the game for the Note series which came after it, with it being the first phone which we have ever seen which was very big. It had a 5.7 inch screen display which was very huge, and it would run from 1080 to 1920 pixels, which was amazing. It had a single main camera which was 13 megapixels, and the first phone from the Note series to ever shoot a video in 4K. Selfie camera, it was 2 megapixels and could manage to shoot a video in 1080 pixels, which was quite okay at that time. And it was one of the best phone which came out in 2013. I can't say one of the best phone, I can say the best phone which came out in 2013. Then the bomb from the series came out, the Note 4. So this was the first phone to use a Snapdragon chip instead of a Exynos chip. It was a 5.7 inches, just like the same as Note 3. It would run from 1440 to 2560 pixels. It had a single main camera, 60 megapixels, which would shoot video in 4K. Selfie, it was single, 3.7 megapixels, which would shoot video in 1440 pixels. But the only problem was that the Note 4 used to explode, and this doesn't just involve like one phone, two phones, five phones, or 50 phones which explode. It was a lot of phones which explode, that in places like the USA you could no longer get into public transport if you owned a Note 4. You could no longer get into a plane, because they were afraid that you would cause a fire if it explodes in those places. It was so bad that they had to ban it. And then Samsung came in saying that they will fix all the problems which the Note 4 had. They tried to do that, but when they put it again on the market, it kept on exploding, that they just had to forget about it. And if you're liking the video, sub to the channel, be an explosion. Help bring the channel to the top, guys, and don't forget to switch on the notification bell so that you don't miss out anything which will be posted at this channel. And definitely leave a thumbs up if you do like the video. So in 2015 the Note 5 came out, so Samsung went back in using a Exynos chip instead of a Snapdragon chip. Okay, so starting from the Note 3 to Note 7, Samsung used the same size of the phone, which was just 5.7, which was big, as I mentioned later. But as for me, I saw the Note 5 just as a cleanup on what went wrong with the Note 4, because a lot of things didn't change. It was more like Samsung did find what went wrong with the Note 4, which was causing it to explode, and then they made the Note 5 better so that it wouldn't explode, but it would be just more like the Note 4. So for the main camera, it was 16 megapixels, which would still shoot video in 4K just as the Note 4. 5 megapixels for the selfie camera, which would shoot videos in 1440 pixels. And then this was the first Note phone which had the storage, which started at the 2GB with 4GB RAM, and then it went up to 128GB with 4GB RAM again. But for some reasons there was never a Note 6. They just jumped from Note 5 to Note 7. But I think the main reason they did that, it was so that they should put the S series and the Note series on the same page, because when the Note 4 came out, that's when the S5 came out. When the Note 5 came out, that's when the S6 came out. So they jumped one number so that they should put them on the same numbers. Note 7 and S7 came out in the same year, and this was the first phone which was Edge, and it was great. And we're not talking about just it being the Edge, it also used a Exynos 8890 Octo, which was on fire during that time. It had a single main camera, 12 megapixels, which would zoom to 26mm wide, which would shoot video in 4K still. And the Note 7, that's where we first saw a dual camera on the front screen, which had a 2 megapixels, which would zoom into a MMO, and was dedicated also to videos. And then there was also a 2 megapixels only dedicated to iris scanner camera. But the only problem with the Note 7, it was that it was lacking in storage. It only had a 64GB with 4GB RAM. It never had anything apart from that to choose from. It was just 64GB with 4GB RAM, and then that was the only option which they gave it. Then another bomb came out. Now this is a bomb in a good way. It never used to explode like the Note 4. Then the Note 8 came out. So the first difference you would notice when you just hold the phone was the size of the phone. For 4 years straight, Samsung was just using the same length of the phone, which was 5.7 inches, but this time Samsung changed the size of the phone to 6.3, which was okay, and the phone got a little bit bigger. And this was the first time we saw a dual main camera on the Note series, which was alright. And it had different chipset depending on which country you were. Like if you were in the USA or China, you would be using a Snapdragon 835 chip, but for the rest of the world was using the Exynos 8895 chip. Then the Note 9 came out with better performance than the Note 8, with a slightly better screen than that of a Note 8, which had a 6.4 inches. It was 12 megapixels main camera and 12 megapixels telephoto, which shoot video in 4K. And then the game changed again with the Note 10 in the game, which had an infinite whole screen display which looked amazing with the improved chip, and this was made amazing. Now the jump was made from Note 10 to Note 20, which is a very, very big jump. What a bummer that we never saw a Note 15. And this was made to match the years for easily recognizing when the phone came out. And I like that idea. The Note 20 had a 6.7 inches, which is a big screen. Looking at the Note, have managed to establish a saying that they are going to be one of the biggest phone which we have ever seen from Samsung. It had a triple camera, which is the first Note to have a triple camera, which had 12 megapixels wide, 64 megapixels telephoto, 12 megapixels ultra wide. Manages to shoot 4K and 8K video, and which is just quite alright. But the sad part is that they did not release a Note 21, which was supposed to be released last year. But we have some great news. They have promised us that they are going to give us a merge phone, a S22, which will be a merge of a Note and a S, which I personally like, me myself. It's just the amazing idea which they have given us in this. And I did speak about the S22, what I think about it. I've managed to put the link in the description below. And this has been a trip down memory lane, Samsung Note. Thanks for watching. Catch you in another one. What's out?